I wondered what was that for, but it's not just a question. Just in case the off chance is well. Typically, if it's yes, it's a vote. But then when it's hot.
Is that Tom singing that we hear?
Huh?
Was that Tom singing that we heard?
Am I singing? You don't want me to sing, I can tell you that right now, but I'll try if you want me to. Oh, shoot, it's time to start the meeting. Sorry about that.
They ain't even started. I'm watching Joe. Hey, Joe. Hold on. You ready? Open. Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the City of Binghamton City Council work session for Monday, July 18th, 2022. Please stand for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
The Republic,
for which it stands, one nation,
nation,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible, with liberty
liberty.
and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. Do a roll call for us, Mr.
Councilman Scringy,
Present.
Councilwoman Resnetti,
Present.
Councilwoman Riley,
Present.
Councilwoman Friedman,
Present.
Councilman Burns, Councilman Scanlon,
Present.
and President Strong.
Present.
That's all 7 here.
Okay, thank you, everyone. We will jump right into it. And looks like first we have Grace with RL 22-184. Go ahead, Grace. when you're ready.
This is part of the side lot program, and we're selling 49 Lydia Street to David and Sherry Tomasco, who have to maintain it as a green space.
Okay. Any questions or comments? 22-184. Okay. Thank you, Grace.
Thank you.
Pat. Pat is down here. We'll give him a second. Wherever that. Pat's going to be joining us, so it'll be to your left. Pat's coming to the table. Burns and Councilmember Friedman down here with us, and Corporate Counsel Brian Seacrest and Mr. Lee. Okay, Pat, whenever you're ready, go ahead. RL 22-185 and 188.
185 is to amend the parks budget to use ARPA funds to purchase a 24-passenger bus and a vehicle wrap for it. We're going to use the bus after kind of talking with parents and people use their programs to pick up and take kids to events, practices, field trips for our summer programs, things like that. Plan is, it's like a practice or something, we'd pick up from the schools, take them to the practice site, take them back. Summer fun will go on, we'll be able to go on field trips from the sites to different locations. Something that's just really going to help our program become more accessible and inclusive.
Okay, questions, comments for Pat on RL 22-185?
Yeah, this is Councilman Scanlon. Pat, how many field trips do you do typically in the summer?
Currently 0. This will allow us to actually be able to go on and do them. Right now, if we do a field trip, it's instead of meeting at your regular location. So let's say you're in the summer fun program at Rec Park, you would meet at the Ross Park Zoo that day, for example. This will actually allow us to, get the kids where they need to be rather than relying on parents and not having to leave kids behind.
All right, Pat, what type of field trips you plan on doing that you're gonna have this bus and use?
So right away, we were gonna take kids up to the Waterman Conservation Center for summer fun this year. We have a trip to the Rumble Ponies game planned. That'd be summer fun. With football and cheerleading coming up, talking to parents, that's a big reason some of them don't sign up for those programs where it's all located at one spot. So we'd be able to actually make a loop around, pick up kids, take them to the practice that's gonna be at First Ward this year, and then take them back to the drop-off sites after.
Thank you, Pat, for the information. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Councilwoman Riley, go ahead.
Thank you, Council President. Hi, Pat, how are you doing?
Good. How about you?
Good, good. Okay, this is a great idea. My concern is really about the liability insurance for driving children. I'm sure that will add an additional burden on the city in terms of coverage. Do we already maintain such coverage? Or have you already looked at the changes to our insurance in terms of liability for transporting other residents' children?
I'm gonna leave that question up to Corp Counsel, Brian, who's sitting over there. I do know in regards to driver's licenses, we already carry the proper CDL. It'll just involve getting a passenger endorsement for those drivers.
The city is self-insured for auto insurance as well as general liability insurance.
Thank you for clarifying that. I wanted to make sure in terms of transporting others, we were covered as well. Thank you.
Councilwoman Resinetti, go ahead.
Hi, thank you, Mr. President. Pat, I have a couple quick questions. So these trips, field trips, are you guys charging the parents anything, or is this part of the overall cost or whatever fees have already paid? How does that work? And then the other question is this then just for summer activities? Or does this, kind of trickle into like pickups from schools and that kind of thing in the fall?
So, regards to pickup, or summer activities, it would be summer right now. This winter, we're planning on doing a basketball league where each school will have, each middle school, elementary school will have a team. So we'll be able to take the kids from Roosevelt to Ben Franklin to play. So we're planning on using it with all of our programming. Obviously, we're heaviest in the summer we don't have an indoor facility, but we're finding plans for it year round. And what was the other half of your question?
The other one was
Sorry.
regarding, this is free of charge to students or their parents, or is this, how will this work?
So we don't charge for any of our youth programming. So like when we build into the budget some money for these field trips, we worked with the Rumble Ponies, where they were gracious enough to sponsor tickets for all of the kids that are going to be signed up. The Waterman trip is through CC, so it's another free opportunity. So yeah, no charge will be involved with anything like that.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Friedman, go ahead.
Thank you, President Strawn. So this sounds like a great program. I'm sure you can predict the question that I'm going to ask you. Under what provision are we allowed to use ARPA funding for this expenditure? Okay, right.
Was there somebody talking? I didn't hear anything. Did the rest of you hear it?
They're just trying to figure out
Can you
who
hear
might
me?
answer the
Oh,
question.
okay.
Get the information.
That's fine. Sometimes the mics are off. Okay, thank you.
We got the mayor and Mr. Shager over
Got
just
it.
off where you can't see him. So
Thank you.
Okay. Okay,
email the group.
all right, thank you.
Excuse me, Mr. President, we didn't hear that response.
We did not.
So I said I'll pull some data and I'll email everyone on council with it, but youth engagement, after school programming, keeping kids off the street would be the first stop.
Councilwoman Riley, go ahead.
Yes, thank you again. Again, as we've talked to the various parts of the city that came with requests for automobiles and transportation, there is always the maintenance and repairs. Do we have, or have you estimated how much it will cost to maintain and ensure this vehicle is safe and drivable throughout the years? And can we, what is that estimate? And do you project that it is affordable for the city and not an undue burden?
So I'd estimate it in similar line with some of our heavy machinery that we already have, including our tree aerial truck, our log truck. So it'd be something that's handled in-house with public works mechanics, and pretty similar to all of our other heavy equipment.
Thank you for that.
Okay. We have, this is not expedited, so if we have any other questions we can get answered or whatever, please send those out and we'll try to get the responses. Pat's gonna do a little checking on a few things and and he had said before, but basically the mayor said that under youth engagement, keeping kids off the street, that whole genre of things is where it falls, but we can get a little more specific this week on some of that stuff. Any other questions or comments on RL 22-185? Okay, go on to 22-188.
22-188, another budget amendment. Amend the parks budget to use Cdbg money to purchase and install a ductless air conditioning system in the First Ward Senior Center Library. So that room does not have cooling currently, just heating. It's a second floor room, gets pretty toasty. In the past, we've used a window unit, which installing it and uninstalling it every season involves taking the entire window apart. The window unit kicked the bucket this year, so we just want to get this done right and permanently rather than put another patch job on.
Okay, any questions or comments for Pat on RL 22-188? Okay, thanks, Pat.
Wait, it's me.
Oh, wait, sorry, Councilwoman Riley, go ahead.
No worries. Now, just to be clear, remember we talked about, and I'm not going to be able to quote this accurately because I don't have the documents in front of me, but we do have residual funds in a CDBG budget year. What budget year is this money coming, or is it being requested from? Oh, I see it now, 47. But
47.
we still have money though that we talked about from 46, right?
So this is coming out of a capital program set aside.
Okay.
That is a question that is probably for Mr. Carson, who.
Yes, thank you. I will forward over because I do have a question about that. So thank you. This is not expedited, so we have some time.
Yep.
Thank you. Anything else for Pat on either of these RLs? Okay, thanks, Pat. Okay, Mr. Shager has joined us at the desk, and we need to do RL 22-189 first before he does the other two. So go ahead, Chuck.
Okay, 189 is a RL to amend the 22 general fund budget to pay for demolition expenses. We demolished some houses and the county was going to pay for the air monitoring of those houses directly to the vendor. So far, they have not. So we're going to make the payment to them and collect the money from the county. Basically, we're increasing our revenue and increasing our expense line, pay for it. I sent all the invoices and the locations that it all took place at.
Councilmember Friedman, go ahead.
Thank you, President Strawn. Hi, Chuck. How are you?
Good.
Okay, my question is that, let me see. Okay, so are all of these expenses reimbursable? Because I see that the reimbursable expenses are like listed separately. Does that account for everything? Or are there some things that are not reimbursable?
Well, and each one of their invoices, some things they get reimbursed for and other things they get paid for doing. Okay, so each invoice probably has both.
Okay,
Okay, but yes, we're gonna get all this money back.
so we, regardless of whether it's listed as reimbursable or not, we're gonna get, okay, got it. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments for Chuck on RL 22-189?
So
Okay.
we jump to the next two RLs are 186 and 187. They're both related to the same situation. I know the Mayor Cram sent out an email to everybody explaining the situation at the tennis courts. The first one of increasing the bond ordinance is being done because the cost of the project is no longer going to be 1.3. It's going to be 1.9 or some number less than that. Because part of it's on a bond ordinance, we have to increase the bond ordinance to the total cost of the project. Okay, we're not going to borrow that additional money, but the bond ordinance has to say what the total cost is. So that's what the bond ordinance modification is. But there's no money being additionally borrowed for this. The second RL is to increase our revenue and increase our expenses to repair the tennis courts. And Mayor Cram will talk about it, but there's two different prices and we have the highest price here. So the project can get moving, but hopefully we don't have to expend that full amount.
If you'd like to discuss some of the details, I'd ask for the motion to go into executive session to discuss something that may be potential litigation.
Is there any other general questions or comments before we do that on these, before we talk about any potential litigation?
Mr. President, I'll make a motion to enter into executive session for the purposes of legal consultation.
I'll second.
Okay, just so anybody listening, we will go into executive session. So the clerks will take a moment to take it off. We do not intend to conduct any business when we return, but we will return to formally to the business, or I'm sorry, the work session before we adjourn.
Would you rather do the pending legislation now and then be done after executive session?
Yeah, we could do that real quick. Mr. Clerk, anything noteworthy on the pending legislation we should be aware of for Wednesday?
So point of order, do we need to rescind the motion to go into executive session or no?
I think the motion is still there. You can cover the pending legislation and then go into executive session after that's covered.
Okay,
Can I ask Chuck a question before we do that?
Sure. Councilman Burns, go ahead.
Chuck, the bond ordinance, can you just explain that if we're not borrowing any more money, why does the bond ordinance have to be changed?
It's part of the requirements of a bond ordinance. It has to show the total cost of the project. So example being, say that we were doing a $10 million community center. We were going to borrow 7 million, had a $3 million grant. We'd still have to show it as a $10 million bond ordinance, even though it's only borrowing 7. Okay.
Within the bond ordinance itself, it says clearly that we're not borrowing any more money.
I don't know if it does or not, to be honest with you. I don't think it does, but
No, but what it is with bonds, if you're an investor, you're looking at what the total value of the asset's going to be when you're done. Right now, the total asset on the example you gave is 10 million. but we just increased it from 10 million to 12 million. We're not actually borrowing any money to make it at 12 million. We're taking it out of our pocket, but the extra two. But for borrower or for people who are investing, they want to know what that total value of that asset is.
If you look on one of the pages in here, you'll see it was 1.3 million going up to 1.9 million,
Okay,
but we're not borrowing anything for this.
okay, thank you.
Okay, we good to that? We'll go into executive